ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोन्मयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादलोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 2, verse number 9 and 10. So this is a discussion between Vishnu Dutas and Yam Dutas about the name and its effectiveness. So we read how Vishnu Dutas, they refuted the talk of Yam Dutas and explained that Ajamila, he is not sinner anymore because he had chanted the name of the Lord. And then we had a whole discussion by Vishwanath Chakravarti where he is explaining that name is the best remedy because it removes the very tendency to commit sinful activities. All these other atonements, they can remove the sin but not the tendency to commit sin. One engages again. And then it was said that how is that, or it was necessary for him to chant the name at the last minute because name will remove the sinful activities before it is chanted, not afterwards. So he said that that is not true. One name can remove all the maybe So he said that the name is so powerful that if chanted once, then it absorbs all the past and even the future sins. And then the question was raised, if that was the case, then why is that Ajamila, after chanting the name right from the day he named his son as Narayana, he still continued to engage in sinful activities? There was no change in his behavior. So he gave a reasoning for that. And the reasoning was that he was just following his nature, like a Jivan Mukta follows his or her nature after becoming liberated. It did not have any influence on him, like a snake whose fangs have been removed. And then he gave another explanation, or it is just the will of the Lord that he wants that although the devotees may be free from all sinful activities or improper behavior, but he continues them to behave like that so that the unscrupulous people do not take to bhakti. And this way he protects the other paths also. Otherwise everybody will just think, well, it's so easy, let's take to bhakti. And then all the path of karma, jnana, etc., they will be lost. So that is the reason. And then it was said, well, why not you just consider that all these glorifications about the name which are given, they are not real. They are just arthavada. So for that he said that they cannot be considered arthavada because in the Shastra it is prohibited to consider the glories as exaggeration or false or unreal. So tatharthvado harinamni kalpanam, it is one of the offense. So he says they have to be taken as real. Ye arthvada iti bruyurna tesam niriyakshaya iti padma katyan sahintadi parasahasya vachnat adhapatasyamt. If one considers them as exaggeration or not real, then one will be doomed. Therefore one should not think so. So this is what we read. Iti punaha पाप प्रवृत्ति दर्शने अतएव श्री विष्णुरातेन कचिन निवर्तय भद्रात् कचित चरति तत्पुण्य प्रायश्चित्तम अथो अपार्थम मन्ये कुंजर शौचवन. So इति पुनः पाप प्रवृत्ति दर्शने प्रायश्चित्तम आक्षेपितानपि भक्ति प्रसंगे भक्तानामपि कस्य कस्यचित् पुनः पुनः पापवृत्ति दर्शनेति नैव आक्षेपकृतः. So he is giving one more explanation that why Ajamila has to be considered as free. He said that earlier in the first chapter, 10th verse, King Parikshit himself told to Sukadeva Goswami that he considers all this prashchitta or atonement to be like a bath of an elephant, because these people who engage in Purvamimamsa or Karmakanda, these religious activities of atonement, they perform these activities again and again. Therefore he says prashchittam ato aphartam manye kunjara sausvar, that I consider this prashchitta to be useless like the bath of an elephant. So although he was criticizing the prashchitta or atonement performed by religious people following Purvamimamsa, he never criticized Ajamila, that look, he chanted and he also was engaged in the same activities. Because for them he's saying that they do atonement, again do sinful activity, they do atonement, again sinful activity. Well, he could have also said Ajamila was also doing the same thing. He was chanting the name Narayana and again sinful activity, and again Narayana and again chant. but he did not say it. So that means he understood that it is not like the prashchitta which is performed by non-devotees. He did not consider these two things same. So that means he understood that chanting actually removes the sin and the tendency, and Ajamila was actually liberated. Apicha yatha nama bhasa balena ajamilo duracharopi vakuntham prapitas tathaiva smartandeha sadachara shastragyapi bahuso nam grahinopi arthavada kalpanadi nama parada balena घोर संसारमेव प्राप्यन्ते इति यतो नाम महात्म्य दृष्ट्या सर्वमुक्ति प्रसंगे अपि न शंक्य. So he says, rather we should know that Ajamila, although he was ill-behaved, his behavior was not pious, he was very sinful in his activities, and yet simply by the power of Namabhas, just a semblance of the name, he became liberated and he went to Vaikuntha. In contrast, there are people who follow the Smriti Shastra and they consider and they also chant, because even while doing yagyas the name of Vishnu is chanted, or they may be chanting otherwise. Those who are doing Panchopasana, they also worship Vishnu. But they do not have this understanding that Bhakti is superior and Nam is so powerful. So these statements that glorify the name of the Lord, this is breaking now. They take them to be as Arthavad. And because of this, although they are well behaved, they have good character, yet they fall down and remain in the material world. So this is the distinction, which means that to consider the descriptions of the power of holy name as exaggeration is very dangerous. And then he says that this also shows why everybody is not liberated. He says, especially in India, it will be impossible that somebody does not take the name of God at least once in a lifetime. Even those who are not Hindus, even Muslims, Christians, at least they have friends whose name is Vasudeva or Ramdas or some name, so they must call it. Or they may read in newspapers somewhere, so many names of God are there. So how is that they don't get liberated then? So he says it is only because of the offense against the name that they are not liberated. So chanting the name has all this power, but if there is an offense, especially this Arthavada, which we are talking about, considering this as an exaggeration, then one is like the Smartas, who are also chanting and not getting liberated. Following regular dharma. Smriti Shastra. Tadevam Bhagavanam Sakrit Pravrittamapi Sadyeva Samulam Papam Samharadapi Falanapi Vriksha Kaleva Falati iti Nyayana Praya. And although it is true that one name of the Lord can remove all the sins and make one liberated. Even in case of a person who has no offense, he says the effect is not seen immediately. Why the effect is not seen immediately? He says it takes time for the effect to manifest. Just like a tree gives its fruit only in the season. So like that, although it removes all the sinful activities and sinful tendencies, but still it takes time before one may act like a Jivan Mukta or liberated person. It's not certain yet. किंचिद विलंबित एव स्वीय फललिंगम लोके दर्शित्वा बहिर्मुख शास्त्रम मतोच्छेदाभावार्थम क्वचित न दर्शित्वा च स्वव्याहर्तु जनान् स्वपराध रहितान् भगवद्धाम नयति इति सिद्धांतो वेदितः. So he says that the principle is that in certain cases the result may be shown after a long period, and in some cases one may not even see the effect or the result, and that is to protect the other paths, that they are not destroyed or lost. He says, anyone who chants the name of the Lord, number one. Number two, who is free from the offense against the name, then the name will carry such a person to the abode of the Lord. This is the principle, there is no doubt about it. So these two things have to be there, that one has to chant the name and one must be free from offense. And then one is guaranteed the place in the abode of the Lord. But it may not happen just immediately. It may take time. It happens also in case of Ajamil. So now some more doubts are raised on this. Nanu arthavadadi namaparadhavatam namaparad hetuko adhapato bhavatu nam tatra na vivadamhe. He says, sir, we don't argue with you that those who are committing an offense of considering the name, glories of the name as an exaggeration, and thus as an offense to the name they fall down or they suffer, we don't argue against this. Nama grahana hetukah sarva papakshayo bhavati nava. Our problem is that one who is chanting the name of the Lord, all his sins are actually removed or not removed. This is what we want to know. Adye karmi jnani yogi bhaktanam tad bhinnanam nirnam madhye paradarika parahinsadigamyesu narkeshu kenapi na gantavyam. So he says, if we accept the first option, because there are only two possibilities, that either the name is removing all the sins or it is not removing. So he says, if it is removing all the sins, then Whether somebody is following Karma Yoga, somebody is following Jnana Yoga, somebody is following Ashtanga Yoga, somebody is a devotee, or somebody is none of these things. He says at least among human beings, nobody should suffer hellish miseries. Whether you say that nobody should go to hell or nobody should suffer misery, it's the same thing, because that's what hell means. Even if they have committed various types of sins such as adultery or killing someone or stealing. And the reason is that everybody takes the name of the Lord directly or indirectly. Because somewhere or the other the names of Lord are even part of some words, like you have Diorama. So Ram is there. Or some other names are there. So he says nobody should go to hell or suffer. And if you consider that it does not remove all the sins, if you accept this option, द्वितीये कर्मी प्रवृत्ति भीरिव भक्तैरपि पाप भोगार्थम नरकेषु गन्तव्यम्. In that case, even the devotees should suffer in hell like the karmis, because they are chanting name but their sins are not removed. So these are the only two possibilities. So what do you have to say about that? That nobody has to suffer, or everybody has to suffer. You cannot discriminate that only devotees, they are free. So he says, just listen. Don't be so argumentative. यथा महाजना स्वाश्रितानाम् आश्रयण तारतम्येन पालन तारतम्यं कुर्वन्नपि तानेव नैव पालयति यदि ते तदपराधिनः स्युः इति तस्य अप्रसाद एव स्वाश्रित अपालने कारणं न तु पालन असमर्थ्यं कल्पनीयम्. So suppose there is some big person, some rich person. He has some people under his shelter who are dependent on him. So he says he takes care of those people according to the surrender of these people to him. How much they are dependent on him, how much they are surrendered to that person, and accordingly he will protect them. There is no doubt, because he has enough money and he is a compassionate person. He is a Mahajana, a great person. But he will not protect somebody or support somebody who is offending him. Although maybe his employee or under his care, but one who is criticizing him or speaking against him to others, then such a person he will not take care. So by this you cannot say that he does not have the ability to take care. He has the ability, but he chooses not to take care. So in the same way, name has the power. But if someone is committing offense, then name does not take care. Simple. तेषामेव अपराध क्षय तारतम्येन तेषु प्रसाद तारतम्येन. And as their offense is diminished, then his grace will also follow in the same way. If someone rectifies, then इति तस्य प्रसाद एव Sarva aparadha kshaya prasadeva, and when all the offense is removed, then there will be full grace, complete grace. So it does not mean that the person does not have the power to protect. It does not mean that name does not have the power to protect, but name protects. Number one who is surrendered, who takes shelter. And number two, who is not committing offense, who is free from offense. And then protection comes in proportion to the offense. Less offense, it's making same problem has started. I don't know, maybe because of the weather. Not connected. So this is very interesting. एवमेव नामोपलभिक्षितां भक्ति देवी ये गुणी भावेन आश्रियन्ते कर्मादि फल सिद्ध्यर्थम तेषु गुणीभूताया भक्तेर्वर्तमानत्वेपि प्राधान्येन व्यपदेशा भवन्ति इति न्यायेन ते कर्मी ज्ञानी आदि शब्देन विधीयन्ते न तु वैष्णव शब्देन. So he says, in the same way, those people who are performing karma kanda, activities prescribed in the Vedas, sakam karmis, and they also accept bhakti as secondary to karma. So they also chant the name, etc., but they think that it is the yajna which is going to give the result, this particular karma kanda activity, and everything is secondary to it. So although bhakti is also existing in their activities, but they are not called devotees, because predominance they are not giving to bhakti but to karma. So they perform mixed bhakti, but they are not called devotees. And therefore they are called karmis, jnanis, yogis, or karmi yogi, jnani yogi, ashtanga yogi, etc., depending on to what they are giving importance. They are not called Vaishnavas, not to Vaishnava Sambhava. So Vaishnava is one who accepts bhakti as supreme process. That is a Vaishnava. So he says these people who consider bhakti as secondary, they are offensive to bhakti. Because bhakti is a queen and they are using the queen in the service of the maid servants. So they are offensive by their very nature, by their very swarupa. Not that they are doing anything specifically that like this I am going to offend. The very path itself is the path of offense to bhakti. Anyone who is going to follow that is already committing an offense to bhakti. Yeah.
That's in the case of the karma mishra. Okay.
Gyan Mishra.
Also.
Anybody who is making use of the bhakti to attain the result of karma, jnana and yoga is an offender to bhakti. Yaduktam, as it is said, धर्मवत ताग होतादि सर्व शुभ क्रिया साम्यमपि प्रमाद इति नामनो धर्मादिपि साम्यम अपराध. So as you know that one of the 10 offenses is to consider the chanting of the name or devotion as one of the ritualistic activities or religious activities, or to compare it with them, to equate it with them, that is considered as an offense. So he says, it is said, He says even to compare it to the dharma or jnana, etc. is an offense, but to speak of making it as secondary, that is definitely an offense. Kimuta dharmadi angatvene guni bhutatvam iti artha. Tadapi tadrisha swashrayena गुणलेश ग्रहणेनैव येषां कर्मयोगादयो मा विफला भवन्तु इति स्वीय दाक्षिण्येन स्वापकर्षं स्वीकृत्य अपि भक्ति देवी तेषां कर्मादि भूत एव कर्मादि फलं निष्प्रत्युहम् उत्पादयति. So he says that although that although these people, they are using bhakti as secondary, yet bhakti sees the one who makes these activities as successful, taking the secondary place by her own greatness. Otherwise, karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, etc., they cannot be successful without bhakti. So bhakti accepts this position and thinks that let these paths do not become fruitless, then no one will follow them. So just taking their goodness, that at least they are even accepting me as secondary, she gives them the benefit of karma, jnana, yoga. So basically the fruit of karma, jnana and yoga comes only because of bhakti and not because of those activities. So of course those activities has to be performed, but still result is not coming because of them. Therefore Krishna says karmanyeva adhikarastu ma phaleshu kadachana. You have the right to perform your duty, but not the fruit. Means fruit is not in your control. Fruit is coming from somewhere else.
You said all the people who wants to have bhakti, they cannot even get to that.
यथा तथैव तेषां पापमपि प्रायश्चित्त अंगभूता एव नाशयति. So now it was said earlier that prayaschitta removes the sin. So he says that actually this sin is also removed by bhakti, not by the prayaschitta. So somehow bhakti itself taking the secondary position remove the sin, and then it appears that by doing this prayaschitta one became free from the sin. नान्यथा इत्यतस्तैरेव अकृत प्रायश्चित्तैः तत्तत् फल भोगार्थं तेषु तेषु नरकेषु गन्तव्यमेव न तु वैष्णव. So he says, therefore all these people, karmi, jnani, etc., they have to go to hell or they have to suffer for their sinful activities if they do not perform prayaschitta. But not a Vaishnava. Vaishnava does not have to go to hell. यदि च ते पुनरन्यान् अर्थवाद साधुनिन्दादीन् नामपराधं कुर्वाण एव धर्मादिकम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति तदा धर्मादिअङ्गभूतापि न तत्फलम् उत्पादयति. So this bhakti removes their sinful activities if they are performing prayaschitta and not engaging in others offensive acts such as criticizing the devotees or considering the name as exaggeration or the glories of name as exaggeration. If they are avoiding these non-offense, then only bhakti removes their sinful activities. But if they are engaged in these offensive activities, then even the prashchitta will not remove their sin because bhakti is just offended. So in other words, there are two types of offenses. One is the offense in the process itself, making the bhakti as secondary. That is acceptable by bhakti, in the sense that bhakti can still give the results of their karma, jnana, yoga, etc. Or if they perform prashchittas, he can remove the sin. But if they engage in specific sinful activities of criticizing devotees, then bhakti is not going to give the result to them. And therefore they have to suffer. So therefore it is said, Kete aparadha viprendra namno bhagavata krita vinignanti nanam krityam ityadi vachneb. There is some sloka from Padma Purana which says that, O king, what are the offenses these people have done against the name of the Lord, that all their good deeds are null and void, fruitless. So that shows that the offense is very dangerous. Kincha, moreover, teshamapi tattat aparadebhyo nivritya tad upshamaka nama kirtanadi paranam nama aparadha kshaya tartamyena karma phala prapti tartamya. But if somehow these people, they stop committing offense against the name and they engaged in Nam Kirtan, chanting the name of the Lord to quell the offense which they have committed. Because it is said that the offense which are performed against the name, only the name removes them. Nameva bhnanti adham. So he says, as their offense are removed against the name, then correspondingly they will see the result of their activities of karma, etc. Not otherwise. Sadhu sangavasat sarvanam apradhakshetu bhakti devi samyak prasadena nama phal prapti reva nirvara. And if somehow such people can have the association of devotees, and then all their offenses are removed, then Bhakti Devi will give her complete grace to such person and will give the benefit of the chanting of the name and not the benefit of karma, etc. That means they will attain bhakti and not just go to heaven or somewhere. So this is the deliberation of the power of the name. Now the question is raised that how is that Ajamila was protected then? Because he was also engaged in karma kanda, right? He was a Brahmana engaged in karma yoga, which means he was also offensive to Bhakti Devi, using Bhakti as a secondary. So then how is that he got benefit of Namadhas? So this is a very interesting answer from this. First he puts the question. He says, I am he Sruta Sampanna Nanvajamilasyapi Vakyahi Prarthanam Karmitvam Gamniti. So he says that Previously, Yamdutas, they said, I am he Shruti Sampanna Shila Vritta Gunalayaha Bhrita Vrato Mridurdanta Satyavan Mantra Vichuchihi Guru Agneti Vriddanam Susrusu Nirahankritaha Sarvabhuta Srid Sadhu Mitavagyan Suyakaha. That this fellow Ajamila, he was educated in the Vedas, he had good behavior, good character, he was very firm in his principles, soft control of mind and senses, truthful and pure, and knower of the mantra, and he was serving to the teachers, to the fire by doing yajna, and to the guest by giving them food, and he was humble, not proud, and friendly to everybody, and very reticent in his talk, not all the time talking, and free from jealousy. So he says, from this it comes that he was also following the path of karma marga, karmitvam avgamyate. So then why is that he got the benefit of Navabhas? Because earlier we said that those who are following the path of karma, they are committing offense. So this is the interesting answer. Satyam. He says this is true, that he was following karma. Madira pan panad brahmanyam api asya nashtam eva kimuta karmitvam yaduchyate. He says that this guy, when he started drinking, then he lost his position of being a Brahmana. Because a Brahmana cannot drink. If a Brahmana drinks, he is not a Brahmana anymore. And if he is not a Brahmana, how can he follow Karma Yoga? And if he is not following Karma Yoga, how can he consider Bhakti as secondary and come to offense? So he was free. You see, sometimes bad things also do good things. It looked like that he fell down, but actually he became free from the offense of considering Bhakti as secondary. And thus he was able to get. And then he did not engage in any other sadhu ninda, criticizing devotees or thinking name has no power, because he was not concerned. So he did not engage in any nama aparadha. He was just a debauchee. So he may be irreligious, but he was not an offender. And because of that, he got the benefit of Navabhas. So it is something like this, that if you have dry grass, wet grass means offensive. So to burn it, you have to make it dry. And then there is dry grass, but this dry grass has, suppose, dog stool in it, which is also dry. It will still burn. You put the mastic, right? That dry dog stool is not going to stop the fire from burning, right? So sinful activities for a person who is free from offenses like that. It's dirt, but it's a dry dirt, it burns. If the grass itself is wet, then even dry stool cannot help. So he says that evam sa viplavita sarva dharma Dasya pati patito griya garya karmana. So if someone says that, do you have any proof of this, that he was actually fallen down from his karma yoga? He says yes. In Bhagavatam itself, later on Sukadeva Goswami says that evam saviplavita sarva dharma. In this way, he who has lost all his dharma, dasyapati patito grahya karma. He was a husband of prostitute, fallen because of his abominable activities. Nipatyamano nirye hatavrata sadhya vimukto bhamunam. He was fallen into the hellish things because he has lost all his principles, hatavrata. But he was immediately liberated by chanting the name of the Lord. So this is the proof that he was no more following the path of karma. This was free. This is a very interesting analysis he's done. So minute. So he says that a karma apagama kshaneva bhaktir guni bhavo api apigata. He says as soon as he fell down from the path of karma, immediately he became free from the offense of considering bhakti as secondary. So he is not secondary to what? He is not following karma. So that's why he said that this offense is only by the swarupa. That as long as you are on that path, you are offensive. If you are not on that path, then you are not offensive. But the other type of offense, if you criticize a devotee, that sticks to you unless you get rid of it. So this is the difference between these two types of offense. One is just because you are in that particular situation, as long as you are in that particular situation, you are offensive. If you get out of that situation, you are no more offensive. The other one is that you commit offense, it becomes your property. It goes wherever you go. Whether you are on this path or that path, it doesn't matter. So that is a dangerous offense. That's why I said sadhu ninda, criticizing devotee or considering the description of power of name as exaggeration. So this he has not done, these types of offense. Punascha swaputra ahvanadau narayana nam ucharana nibandhana kevala ananya eva bhakti rasya bhut. So since he was not having any of these offense, now when he named his son as Narayana and he would call him as Narayana, then he engaged in pure devotion. Because now this is not, he was not doing it for any material cause or trying to consider as secondary, none of these things. Nanu karma jnanadi angatvena bhaktim kurvita iti यदि विधि वाक्यमेव अस्ति तर्हि कुतस्तेषां नाम प्राण. So now he poses one more question. He says that there are statements in the scriptures itself that perform bhakti as part of karma and jnana. Those who follow karma, then they are asked that to chant this name of the Lord, or in the end say Sarva Krishna Arpanamastu, like that. So they are just following the injunction of the Shastra. So what is their offense? Why they have to be considered that they are committing an offense? So he says, Uchate bhaktya eva sarve api dharma samyag eva siddhyanti bhakti lesena api mahapatkani api nashyanti ityadi parashata shastra vakye api avishwastam karm jnaniyor eva shraddhalunam bhaktir bahirmukhanam अशुद्ध कुटल चित्ता नामपि अनेनैव प्रकारेण भक्तिर्भवतु इति दयामये एव वेद शास्त्रं धर्म ज्ञानादि अंगत्वेन भक्तिं विधत्ते इति अतो न शास्त्रवाक्यम् उपलम्भनीयम् इति. So he says that please do not criticize the Shastra which is asking people to engage in karma and jnana and consider bhakti as secondary. He says the reason is that there are thousands and thousands of statements in the scriptures which are saying that simply by a little contact with bhakti one can attain all perfection. One can become free from all sins. But there are people who do not trust these statements. They have no faith in them. So what is to be done about them? They will not take to bhakti because they don't trust it. And if they take to karma and jnana, and without bhakti, then they will not get the result. So then they are asked to do karma and jnana, with bhakti as secondary or part of it. So he says that this is actually the compassion of the Shastra, the Vedas. And where is the compassion? He says the compassion is that this way the Shastra is engaging them in bhakti, even though they do it considering bhakti as inferior to karma and jnana. So at least they are able to perform bhakti. So even these people who are impure in heart or who are not straightforward, they are engaged in bhakti this way, and one day they may be come to the platform of performing pure bhakti, realizing the ineffectiveness of karma, jnana, etc. Because sooner or later they will read statements where it is said that karma is not able to give its benefit by itself. Then they may change. ततश्च वैध पशु हिंसाकृतो विधि बलात् स्वर्ग प्राप्तोऽपि यथा तद हिंसा दोषो अनुगमन तथैव भक्ति गुणी भाव करण रूप अपराधवतो विधि बलात् कर्मफल प्राप्तोऽपि तत्तद अपराध परम एव गेय. अपराध अपनमेव गेय. So he further explains that he says that just like in the Vedas there are statements where some animal sacrifice is prescribed. So Svetam Alabhit Swargakam and performs or sacrifice for attaining heaven. So this is an injunction of the Veda. If one follows this, one will definitely go to heaven if one does it properly. But that does not mean that one will not get the punishment of killing the horse. Although there is a statement that Vediki hinsa himsane bhavati, that the violence which is prescribed in the Veda is not considered as a violence, but it is not true. And the most glaring example given here is in Bhagavatam, which we read about Prachin Barhi in the previous canto. That he was the person who did so many sacrifices. And then Narada showed him that look at these vultures in the sky, they are all waiting for you. So that is to say that he is not free from the sin of committing that violence. So just because Veda is saying does not mean that you have become free from the bad influence of that. Veda is again saying those people who are just violent by nature and they are not going to be sattvic in their behavior, so at least they are engaged. Just as those people who don't have faith in bhakti, they are all asked to perform bhakti secondarily. But that does not mean that they will not have the offense of considering bhakti as secondary. So just as those people who commit violence of sacrificing an animal, although it is prescribed in the Vedas, have to suffer the sin of killing an animal, in the same way those who consider bhakti as secondary to karma and jnana, although it is stated in the scriptures, are not free from the offense towards bhakti. So this is to be understood. We will stop here if there is any question.
I mentioned earlier that there is a time span in between for the effect manifest.
Yes.
What happens in this period?
The person just follows one swabhava. Sadrisam chestate swasya prakriter jnanvan api prakritim yanti bhutani.
So if the person commits an offense during that period, is there a possibility to commit an offense in that period? And what happens if that offense is committed?
If no offense is committed, then
you have spoiled your chance.
yes.
So it seems like this offense phenomena is all pervasive.
Yes. The world is full of offense.
It's made of offense, you can almost say.
Yes. Looks like that it is product of offense and it is created for us to get free from offense. You can think like that. So the only purpose of life is to become free from offense. That's all.
So for a bhakta, basically, mukti basically means to become free of offense.
Yeah. If you can do that, the rest is very simple. So that is the tough job.
So there is descriptions of the qualities of a sadhu. There is Krishna saying who is dear to him in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and other places in the Shastra which describe the sadhu, the bhakta. It seems like they don't exist. Because even if there are bhaktas and their prarabdha karma continues, so even if they are free from offense and they are liberated, so to speak, and they continue their prarabdha karma, we don't see them.
Well, prarabdha karma,
it's not possible to recognize them.
prarabdha karma can continue, but you can make an effort not to engage in wrong thing. Shastra is not saying that you should continue doing the wrong thing. That's not what Shastra is saying. Shastra is saying you should not. And these qualities are described so that you can follow such behavior and all the good examples are given. Although you may still have the tendency and the swabhava is there, and it's said, but that doesn't mean that I don't make an effort.
So now what happens, okay, so you have the devotee who has been liberated on account of the name, he continues his material life, his prarabdha karma. So it may happen that other devotees or even other people commit sadhuninda, they offend him because they don't recognize him as a devotee of such a caliber.
Right. And that happens. It's like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the story is there that Sri Gadadhar Pandit was sent by Mahaprabhu to Pundarik Vidyanidhi, that you go and you said, I think you listen Bhagavatam from him. I think that's what he said. So he went in, and when he saw him, so he was in his mind thinking, what kind of a devotee is he? But he was sitting on a nice cot, wearing nice dress and smoking hookah. So he never thought that he is even a devotee. And he came back. And when Mahaprabhu asked him, so he said, his thought that I'm not impressed. So he said, no, you're making a mistake, you go again. So he went again and he started, because Mahaprabhu obviously he had faith in him. And then some discussion came, and then Pandit Gadadhar recited a sloka from Bhagavatam, and as soon as he recited the sloka from Bhagavatam, he went into trance. He kicked away everything. So then he realized that what a devotee is he. And then he also realized that he committed an offense in his mind. So it is possible like that.
So then it becomes very, very difficult to actually discriminate.
Yes.
Because to impose a wrong image on somebody is also useless or dangerous.
Yeah, it is. There's no doubt. So therefore this sadhuninda is something which is very prevalent, is very dangerous.
And then you have another category who really make a good show as a sadhu
Yes.
and induce you or expect from you to reciprocate on this in the show. And you don't feel like, you kind of feel like it's not really honest or it's not really working, but you, by social standards or whatever, you're obliged to
So at
go
least
along with it.
don't be offensive. Especially if it is not your responsibility to check this person. And if it is your responsibility, that is different thing. But in many cases it is not, so why shall I unnecessarily maintain critical mood? It's none of my business. God is doing whatever they are doing. I'm not the controller. So then you stay safe.
So the essential criteria is really the shraddha in the name,
Right.
the kind of cuts.
That's what puts you on the path. That's very important. Because if you don't have Shraddha, then you cannot take to the process. Or if you have very little, then you don't put your heart into it. So when Shraddha is there, then because you are where your Shraddha is. And Krishna says, Shraddha Maya Vayam Purusha. The person is actually pervaded by Shraddha. our actions emanate from our Shraddha. At least those which we decide ourselves. Sometimes we also do things because there is a social convention or we have been asked to do by our authority.
But the work to become free from offense has to be done by the devotee.
Yes.
And if he has the Shraddha, he will succeed in that work, is that?
And definitely.
Okay.
So that's the most important thing to be understood for a sadhaka. But once you go beyond that, then things happen naturally. Now your mood is already devotional, that will guide you, but before that, because we have so many of anarthas or impressions. Anartha means all these impressions, imprints, vasanas from the past, which impel us to act wrongly. So they have to be curtailed. First we have to see them, analyze them, and then we have to curtail them. So that we have to do if we are, that we can do if we are sincere and if we have Shraddha. When we are not sincere, then we keep on blaming others for everything. We just see them coming. So we are busy actually just analyzing others and blaming others or trying to figure out who is doing what instead of thinking, where am I going? Where do I stand? What am I doing? Am I moving forward or I'm stuck or I'm even digressing? So that's what we should be utilizing our brain, our intelligence, our energy, our time for.
So my question is more related to, if you can put a little more light on the relation between the intention, the person who is practicing,
Lesson between?
the intention that the person who has by practicing devotion itself, or with every stage or the beginning, and the inability to avoid the offense.
Well, if you are not able to avoid it, is an offense, whether we have intention or not. Of course, if you don't have intention, it is less dangerous. But if you are doing it, you are doing it. Because the question is that you are dealing with human beings, whether it is name or devotees. They are offended, whether you intended or not. And there is a famous story about Rupa Goswami, that he was sitting in his meditation and he was watching Radha Krishna. Right? You know that Radha was trying to catch some, fruit or flower from a branch, but she was not able to reach it. And then Krishna will lower it down for her, but just when she is able to hold it, he will release it. He's trying to tease her. And Rupa Goswami was looking at this and he was smiling. And just then some Vaishnava was passing who was handicapped. So this Vaishnava thought that he is laughing at me because I am not able to, he was lame. So he felt offended. And because he felt offended, then his meditation broke. And after that he tried again and again, but he was not able. So he understood something has gone wrong. And then he went to Sanatana Goswami and consulted him that why did it happen. So you see, when these people were so careful, and then he said that he must have committed some offense. And he asked what happened. So they are not able to figure out. So he said, okay, you do one thing, invite everybody and give a feast.
The one who will not come is the one who is
And if he comes, then you know, and if he doesn't come, you know, if he comes, then he will be happy because you will be forgiven, and then you ask forgiveness to everybody. So that's how he came to know, because he said that this has happened. So then that person told that, I thought you were laughing at me. So there was no intention of committing offense. But it happened.
And then also this inattentiveness in the chanting, for example, being not able to control the thoughts and mind or anarthas of coming and all this kind of thing. Do you practice?
So we have to practice it again.